Weight cutting has always been a huge problem in the UFC. These fighters are almost dying to make weight. And it sucks, right? Because when I think of a fight, I just want to see two guys, trying to knock each other out. I don't care about these guys making the exact weight, but I understand why it's a necessary evil in this sport. But I have a solution, and it's kind of a unique solution. So before all you guys go dropping hate comments on this idea, just give it some thought. Give it a little bit of thought, right? So my idea is if you're making your UFC debut, for your first three fights, you have to make weight on the dot. If you're in the lightweight division, you have to weigh in at 155 on the dot. And then after those fights, you can weigh in at your natural weight, just as a little data point, and can fight somebody else who just weighs in at their natural weight, but who is also technically considered a lightweight, if that makes sense. So, for example, Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker. We know that these guys can make 155. Do we really care if on Friday, the day before, they actually weigh in at 155? Do we really care? I don't. It's just a fun fight. It's going to be a fun, badass fight. I really don't care if these guys weigh in at the lightweight division because we know they can both make it. I would actually much rather see these guys both weigh in at their natural weight, maybe like 180, because in that case, the fight's going to be better because the fighters, they're going to be performing better, not having just in a weight cut, right? They're going to be healthier, they're going to have slept, they're going to be fueled up, they're just going to be feeling good. There's going to be no problems with the weight cut. A lot of times we hear excuses about the weight cut going wrong. None of that anymore. And it's going to be healthier for the fighters, make a more entertaining fight. And now, before you comment, yes, I'm going to talk about championship and number one contenders matches. Obviously, for the championship bouts and for number one contenders matches, we should have them weigh in at the exact weight class. Of course we should. We have to for the sport. It's a necessary evil. But just for, fun, badass matchups, like, I'm not sure if Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker is a number one contenders match. But I don't give a fuck if those guys weigh in at 155. I just want to see a fun fight, right? And my idea, it could cause some potential matchmaking issues. And what I mean by that, let's take a guy on his UFC debut, where according to my rule set, he would have to weigh in at the exact weight, fighting an older legend who wouldn't have to do that. Obviously, we cannot have one guy cut weight and one guy naturally weigh in. Obviously, we can't. So, I think that there are going to be fights where if, people who have been in the UFC for a while, if they choose to take them, they're going to have to cut weight again. And it's a necessary evil, so it will complicate matchmaking a little bit. But maybe we can give, these guys like a small bonus for actually cutting weight. That would be a good way to improve fighter pay. And so if an old legend takes a fight against a UFC fighter on his third fight in the UFC, then he can get a small bonus because if he fought somebody else, he wouldn't have to cut weight. But now he has to cut weight because we obviously can't have one person cut weight and the other person not. So maybe give them a small bonus there. That would be good for fighter pay and incentivize some stuff. And this is great. And I really don't see why we need all of these guys to always be cutting weight. Because if you think about it, what do we get out of that? What do we get out of like random unranked guys cutting weight and making it in their weight class? I don't know. I don't really care because we'd get much more entertaining fights if we didn't. We would get them fighting more often, healthier fighters, and sure, we have to know they can make the weight. That's why they do the 3 at the beginning, and for a number one contenders match, you're gonna have to cut weight, and for the championship fight, of course you have to cut weight. But I really don't see a reason to have every single fighter on the roster be cutting weight for these fights. Do you? I mean, this might sound like a weird idea, but I really wouldn't have a problem if they just weighed in as a data point, unless it's a number one contenders match or championship fight. I would not have a problem with that at all. So, let me know what you guys think about this, because I think this is a pretty unique idea. And I think if the UFC were to implement it, it would have, sure, it could cause some matchmaking difficulties, because the older guys who've done more than their 3 required weight cuts, they wouldn't want to fight the debuters and have to do a weight cut again, most likely. But if we give them some good fighter pay, they're probably going to do it. And it's a lot better than whatever we have going on right now, making these guys cut weight every single time. It's unhealthy, it's not good for the fighters, and you're going to have more entertaining fights if you don't have to do that every single time. And sure, yeah, you get experience when you cut weight, so there is an argument to be made that they should cut weight because something could go awry when you do your number one contendership fight. I just don't know, man. I think it's worth a shot to try at least, right? Because like some of these guys, they know how to weight cut. They know that they can do it, and doing it again just seems like useless, just for kind of fun bouts. Like Dustin Poirier, he's doing a retirement fight. I don't know against who. He wants to do it against a legend. We know he can make 155, bro. Do we really have to see Dustin Poirier cut the weight? Like, I'd be totally fine seeing Poirier versus Holloway. None of them cutting weight. I would be more than fine with that because we know that they can cut weight. Why the fuck do we care if they do it again? It would just be a much more entertaining fight, so just more fun to watch, and just generally better. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this idea. Can you think of any problems that I haven't thought of? Because this just kind of popped into my head, and I think it's a good idea. I don't know why the UFC hasn't thought of it yet. Sure, it could complicate some things, just matchmaking wise, but I think the benefits outweigh the negatives. So, what do you think? That's about it. See ya.